making sure I never made the mistake of saying someone from the UK had an Australian accent, or someone from Australia having a UK accent.
Well, at least you're courteous enough for that, which some people don't. They will just literally fire out all guns, blazing, all cylinders on rare, and they're like, "Yep, I know you're from there." It's like foot and mouth
Right,
syndrome. One of the things I try to avoid by any means necessary.
right,
Brilliant. So, this is another episode of the No Name Podcast in collaboration or powered by IAmHipHop, and also in collaboration with High Creativity Ltd. Jay Juju St. Paul, and we have the one and only Sean Riggs, actor, producer extraordinaire. How you doing, King? How are you feeling today?
Man, I'm never better, man. I'm extremely blessed, and just want to thank you guys for having me on your platform. And I'm excited and I'm thankful that people I have been giving a lot of good energy to the project, Lazarus. So, I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, man. Definitely watched it. Definitely a very interesting story plot, especially surrounding that whole superpower based thing. So we're going to dig into that, and thank you very much as well for joining us today as well and taking out of your time. But because for being here on this side of the pond, I'm always kind of being interested because I've always been, sort of starry-eyed of what life's like in the States. So you grew up in Chicago, if I'm not incorrect with saying. So what was life like for a young Sean Riggs growing up in Chi-Town, the Windy City?
Growing up in Chicago, really abstract. It was really cultural, diverse, shall I say. I was exposed to a lot of things in inner city. And a lot of those things actually inspired me to get into filmmaking at an early age. I actually used to run track. I ran track for about 12 years and played football. But Chicago is, if you ever been there, this, like I said, it's truly a cultural city. So you got like places like the Museum of Science and Industry, the orchestra downtown. They actually have Broadway too. I was exposed to so many different facets of creativity growing up there, and it just spewed into me. And I used to always say, "Hey, when I get older, I want to get into the arts." And out in Chicago, they never necessarily said filmmaking or acting or entertainment. They called it performing arts. So that's how I was broken into it. It was called performing arts, and then it's similar to the UK. And first of all, I have so much respect to the ground level of talent that comes out of the UK. The attention to detail, the people out there, they're so trained. And I always say, hey, I need to have that in me. But that's something that I was around a lot growing up. So it's you have your adversities, shall I say, growing up in the inner city. There were some places that were good and some places that were not so good. But through that, I always said that anybody that comes out of Chicago, they got tough skin. Because if you can survive in a place like that, you can survive anywhere in the world,
You're definitely doing well. I mean, when you think about, your Chicago lights who have come and birthed from there, they definitely, once they've got that global appeal, you've definitely brought something to the table. And I definitely agree. Yeah, the UK, we've worked hard and a lot. And I think it's mainly comes from, especially like you're saying, in the sense of performing arts, is in the arts background. It's always been more stages and performances. So I've always kind of seen this because of Hollywood and things of that nature, in a sense of like on-screen media, the States have definitely led. But when it kind of comes to that Broadway, that the stages, the plays, then I'll definitely say the UK or Europe as well, just as a whole, from even the operas have been absolutely amazing. But just touching, as you said, because you said I've seen your Instagram, because you're hella athletic, doing those mad workouts, always on a punching bag. But you also, you just mentioned as well, it's like with how the performing arts and how the being active when you're younger also kind of all came together. So how did that whole mix up happen? Did you just I look good, so I'm gonna be a superhero, this is what I'm gonna play? Or because you play very kind of action based roles, or how did that connection happen? Sorry.
Well, without saying too much of my age, I grew up on VHS tapes. And if you know anything about a VHS tape, you had 3 movies on there, and you would watch it and you didn't get to skip back, or you didn't have all of these intros like on Netflix. You can skip the intro and da da da. You know, you get to the end and you press the rewind button, you go back to the beginning and you watch all three again. My choice of movies, you know, range from Raw Deal with on Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rambo with Sylvester Stallone, you know, Passenger 57, Wesley Snipes. I grew up on so many different action heroes. Carl Weathersby, you know, Action Jackson. You know what I'm saying? I That's one of the things that resonated with me well. You know, it affected me growing up. I love action films, you know, and I always said I want to be in an action film. I used to do crazy things. I was on the back porch in Chicago, jumping off the first floor, doing stunts and rolls with my friends, like we were in big shootouts. Then I would go to the second floor. Then one day somebody called the neighbors and they called the police because they said that there's some kid jumping off of the third floor. What is he doing? But in Chicago, you know, it's similar to like parkour. So I was doing a lot of that at a young age. And my mother used to always tell me, she said, you can be an action star. You can be anything that you want. Always shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. But please don't hurt yourself in the meantime. So
the medical bills would have been crazy.
I always wanted to do. I always wanted to get into that. I wanted to get involved with action films heavily. And I didn't know how that was going to be, but I also knew that I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to get into the performing arts. So I started at a young age. My mother got me involved with on so many different programs. And what I mean by that is there were certain theaters and there were a lot of programs for kids. She exposed me instead of growing up and taking me, you know, like normally people right now, what do? They take their I'm sorry, that's my son in the background.
No, that's fine. Your father, so it's cool, man.
He loves to be the star too. He's going to be a star too one day. But yeah, she always said, you know, most parents, they took their kids to, you know, go to the movies or something like that, something simple. My mother said she wanted to get all of us out the house, me and my siblings. So she would take us to magic shows, to plays, to orchestras, to the zoo. She would expose us to so many different things because she felt like it would feed well into us. She used to take us strawberry picking. On some Saturdays, we would have she would say, hey, what do you want to eat this weekend? You want pancakes? I said, yeah. You want blueberry pancakes? Oh, yeah. And I knew what that meant. That meant we were going to take a drive off to either Wisconsin or Indiana to go blueberry picking. And so we would go pick our blueberries early in the morning, and then we would come back, we'll have some blueberry pancakes. But that did something to me. It did something to all of us, me and my siblings. I have two sisters and a brother. But it expanded our mind to think more so on the outside instead of what was going on in our inner city. It took our minds off of that. That's why I said it was so cultural, because of the things that I thank my mother for that heavily, because she exposed me to so many different things, and it played well in me and my creativity growing up. So even though I ran track, I still always had this idea that, hey, I'm going to take track to as far as it's going to go in my career, and then I'm going to get into filmmaking, get into being an actor in the industry. But I also knew that it was going to be a tough road. You know, not everybody, like you just said, you say, hey, I look good. I went through that phase early on. You know, I had the little tight shirts, and I'm like, oh, you know, the lady saying he's a handsome man, and then you're looking at all these guys on TV and said, hey, I could be that guy. But Hollywood will completely slap you in the face instantly when you think that it's all about your looks, when it's not about that. It's about your work ethic. Oh, well, I mean, for some, I'm sure there's some guys who
not giving everyone a pass.
Right. They, you know, they can suck their jaw in, and then someone sees them and says, you look like, you know, you can be on this film. But the truth of the matter is that's a small percentage of that happening. I saw a bigger percentage of people's success came from people who actually worked hard and didn't just think that, even if you thought you were the greatest actor, you have to work hard. I heard Tom Cruise say one day, he said, some of the greatest actors that I know, that he knew from class that he trained with, the world had will never know, and they don't know. And it's because there was the game of filmmaking and being in films is a business. So I had to see it as a business first and understand it from that perspective. Now, getting into being into action movies, I started this journey approximately about, you know, 14 years ago. You know, with my first project,
Mm.
Pump the Yard, and I knew
Yes.
then, right. I said, hey, I want to get into action films, and I don't know. I just some of us are just I don't know. We just think so big, and we dream so big, and we just we can see something, we say, I want that. And then other
Mm.
people are looking at us and saying, you know, that's really ambitious of you. And you know, that's extremely hard. So I
Mm.
started trying to get investments for ideas and projects. I co-wrote a film back then, an action film, an incredible one, which I still have, which I'm not going to say anything about because then next thing I don't want to see it on a movie somewhere and someone stole the concept. But I kept trying to get funding, and it didn't work because around then the tools were not accessible. You couldn't get
Right.
you had to pay for certain cameras that were a little bit more expensive. And then now we came to this era where now the type of cameras that had 4K exposure that is actually on your big screen became accessible to us for cheaper costs.
Mm.
Well, then it became to the type of lenses that you were using, the type of creativity you have in your cinematographers that were working around you. So then once I had that and had surrounded myself with that, especially in an incredible director with R.L. Scott and his eye, and Johnny Alexander, he's one of the other cinematographers that worked on it. So then I
Yeah.
was able to finally orchestrate and organize a production around a film that I felt like I can get it done for a cheaper cost. Now, still, it was really ambitious when you look at what's from the script standpoint, how it
Yeah.
was and what was going on in it. But still, once again, I felt like I knew I was going to get it done. So
Mm.
I had to strategically do it. It took us about a year and a half to get it done. So I want people really to appreciate when they're seeing this character on there that I had a lot of things going on in my personal life. I had other acting gigs that I had that were going on, but every time I came back to finishing up this project, I would tap into who this character is charismatically, however I could. So
Yeah.
I trained significantly. That part too. I trained a lot with China McCoy. He was the stunt double in for Lawrence Fishburne in The Matrix. He was
Oh
one of the
snap.
yes, he was one of the first guys I was working with heavily about not just stunts in general, as in falling down and doing flips and rolls, but how to make my punches and the physicality of it as opposed to being on camera. You know,
Right.
I from Chicago. I have a background in taekwondo. I um I used to box a lot. I grew up around that. You know, that was a gateway drug for everybody in the neighborhood to go to a gym and to box and to let out your steam, your stress. And that was at my disposal a lot. So a lot of people surrounded me and started teaching me how to look good on camera with that. And so I kept working and fine tuning that for over a decade. And finally, we have a project. Well, Call Me King was the first one I actually worked on with
Mm-hmm.
if you know the brother Jamin Joseph, he's on a TV show Snowfall. He plays Jerome
Oh
on there.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
incredible actor. He's family. That's my fam. That's I mean, we go extremely far back as my first major mentorship and acting class with Tasha Smith out here.
Mm.
Tasha Smith she's the director, and I co-produced that. He executive produced that. But we all worked together collectively as a team, and we got
Mm.
that done. And he excelled in this industry and did well with this career. And he ended up. We still connected on Lazarus. You know, we talked a lot. He was always helping me to make sure I didn't make some of the mistakes that he made, as in all filmmakers make on their projects.
Mm.
So finally, when it came to shooting Lazarus, it took a while. I always tell people to prepare. If you want to shoot something that you're passionate about, please prepare. Please do your research. Please get everything that you need resourcefully. And please look in the mirror and say that you don't need the entire universe. You can use a world of people to start. You got to start with yourself. and then
Mm,
your team and your tribe will come and follow along when they understand and they see your passion and they know that you're serious. But
mm.
last thing with that was my money. I never want to do that again. I never want to do that again. But I probably, oh man, I spent a lot of my own money in the beginning. But I knew
Right.
I was able to get the money and the funds. And I keep saying, I speak about Tyler Perry a lot because Tyler Perry gave me an incredible TV show opportunity around that time. And
Yeah.
that's what I was able to use. Once I had that, I knew I had enough money to start filming for myself instead of asking people to invest in me. What more of a person to ask than myself to invest in myself? And bought all of our own equipment, bought all of the equipment, camera equipment, every single thing that was involved with Lazarus, from the props to the cameras to the locations. So, funded by myself to have us to have a place where we can make this look great and not cheat. I didn't want to cheat this film at all. So
Mm.
it took oh man, an insurmountable amount of work to constantly be where I needed to be at the right time to get the great resources. And sometimes I didn't have $15,000 for a location. So that means I have to meet somebody at 5 in the morning to come to a place where NCIS is filming or this big production normally films. And I walk in by myself with a clipboard and my hat and I tell them, hey, all I can afford is this. And just the energy alone, a lot of people would just, look at me up and down and they say, okay, well, if you come along this time when these big productions are not working here, then we'll help you out. But you make sure you got to have your permits and your insurance and your due diligence and all of that. It happened so many different times. I kept the film right into the east side of Los Angeles because I felt like it was a comic book world. And I wanted people
Mm.
to see that on screen. If I'm going to say it's a comic book world, then when you turn on the film, what do you see the entire time? You see graffiti,
Mm.
you see the murals, you see all of that everywhere. I stayed in that east side of Los Angeles. I felt like I lived there. I slept in my car for hours. So just to wake up and then check off the list and going to other locations. So all the hats I wore as being a location manager, sometimes you just got to do that if you want something so badly and you love it and you want to make an
Yeah.
impact. And then here we are today with this incredible film. And this is the lookbook now. This is all the things that it
Oh,
just
wow, snap.
yeah. These are some of the things that we see on the major productions, but you can create the same things. You just have to think outside the box. Just, be as ambitious as you can and as passionate as you can, and and it'll get done. So here we are today, and I'm talking to
Yeah.
you.
That's well, you know what, you covered off a lot of the parts of what I wanted to ask as well. But also, I'm guessing that is the mask, if I'm not incorrect, of what you donned in the movie as well. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. That is the mask.
Nice.
I, I keep it close.
Yeah, I can understand why. But also, thanks for the wise words, because these are the things that people obviously forget. Being a creative myself, so this is just one element of what I do. It's like you said, preparation. Make sure that you. I mean, we got the tools to research now, so it's not saying that you can't make these projects come to light, but just know, just be responsible in the cases of what you're doing, especially if you're doing it solo. But I mean, that's what's kind of comes across, because you had an amazing lineup with people who have done some amazing work on other productions. Even Aeriel Miranda, for instance, who was straight out of Compton, she's also doing a thing on TV as well, same way that you have, because you've done in SWAT, and like you mentioned, being part of a Tyler Perry joint as a reoccurring character for a few episodes, I believe. Um, you also had like a Mya of okay, so how did you get these? Because they're both in their own rights. They're definitely stars. Like regardless if you're into movies or into music, regardless, how did that happen? How did you get them both to be like, yeah, boom, I'm
That's
definitely about
always, like I always tell people, when you start walking in your faith and you start walking within the universe, and if you're a believer of a higher power, I am a Christian. I believe in God, and I had that on me the entire time. And I remember once someone told me, once you start walking in your faith, the universe and God are going to start responding and start giving you things out of nowhere, and you just don't, you won't know, but you just know. So
Yeah.
Aeriel, I was that once again. I was working on a Tyler Perry project. I was working
Mm,
on For Better or Worse and If Loving You Is Wrong. Aeriel was working. Tyler Perry, if you know anything about his work ethic, he will have a bunch of shows and films going on
indeed.
simultaneously. So
Yeah.
when I was there in Atlanta shooting, I remember we had designed who we wanted Ember to look like. And I'm like, I had Ember in my head. And once I said, when I get back to LA, we're going to go on a search to figure out and go over a list of who people that we think could play a great Ember. I never met Aeriel before. I
Wow.
remember I was in my trailer, and as I'm coming out of my trailer, Aeriel was walking to her trailer. And I look and I was like, that's Ember right there. I was like, who is that? She literally looks like she's an incredible actress, and she had this comic book look to her. She's tall, and that's how we wanted
Mm,
Ember to have this look, a tall look. And I said, wow, who is that? So I met her, and I remember we were in the elevator. We were just chopping up and talking about it, and she was like, "Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm working on the same show. I know we're bouncing back and forth." And I said, I'm Sean, and we were just talking in the elevator about it. This is a whole true story. And she's like, "Oh, that's incredible." I said, "Actually, I saw you," and I said, "You look really good for this character that we're doing for this action film."
mm.
She said, "Oh, really?" She was like, "I want to do something like that. Yeah, we should talk about that." I said, "Cool." Elevator door opens. We're walking out of this hotel at the Georgia Terrace. I'm going my way to a particular event that Tyler Perry was throwing for the cast. And Ember was saying, Ember, that's called an Ember. I said, Aeriel was saying,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm about to go on this ride with these guys, this three-wheeler gang, these motorcycle, it's like these motorsport three-wheelers, if you know what I'm talking about. They're
Oh, yeah,
like,
like the T-Rex is like the
right.
short, the little small ones are plus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was almost like a scene in a movie. And we're walking out the doors and just talking. And as we're walking, the guy pulls up in some lavish luxury three-wheeler waiting on Ember. And she has this full leather outfit on. Waiting on Aeriel, full leather outfit, waiting on her. And she was like, "That's cool. So just let's talk about it later on." All right, I'll talk to you later. I'm gonna have fun. She jumps on the back with him, and then it's about 20 of them. They just peel off. She puts a helmet on, just look, and then she just drives off. And I'm like, yeah, that's Ember right there. What the heck? So long story short, we connected when we got back to LA. She loved it. She saw all of the specs that we had on it, the press kit. She joined on to the team, and then the rest is history. She's here today, as Ember. Mya,
Sick.
she was represented by we had another person that was involved on the film, an older person that was going to play Flora. It wasn't
Mhm.
working out. I told RL, I said, "Look, I think I want to grab somebody that'll fit to a younger demographics. I'm going to see who we can find for that." Next thing I know, my agent left the agency, and then she started her own management company. And she was still a good friend of mine. Her name is Sheila Leggett. And she ended up having Mya. I'm scrolling through looking at her roster, and I'm like, wow, she
Mm.
represents Mya. And I hit RL. I said, we should get Mya. He said, "Oh, that would be incredible." I said, "She'll fit to a younger demographic." And here am I, my mind, I just knew it would work. I don't know why. So I called up
Mm.
Sheila. Said, "Hey, I'm gonna send you some stuff over." I sent her over all the pictures and the ideas, the costume design and everything that we had for it and the story. And Sheila said, "Wow, Mya wants to do something like this. She's been asking to get something like this because she wants to start really getting more into her acting side." And then next thing you know, lo and behold, Mya saw it, called me up and said, "I'm down." And the crazy thing is, we were doing wardrobe at Fox Studios through a connection through a costume designer. Yeah, I know it came around full circle that Fox is now the streaming platform with Tubi. Mya
Yeah.
came and she loved it so much. And our first production day that we had to do it was with Mya. It was a full weekend of just Mya that we had to get her done because her tour was about to start. So
Mm.
she said, "You got to shoot me now. And if you don't shoot me now, I'm gone. I'm about to be on tour." And then that's how Mya got on. And then once again, at the end of the film, I came to Mya. I said, "I would love to have you on a theme song." And she said,
Mm.
she heard the song from producer Jtrx, That's Justin Echols out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he's from LA too, Indiana. And she heard it. She said, "This is incredible." The song is rap. The rapper is R Truth, the WWE superstar.
Yeah.
He's a rapper as well. She heard the song, said, "I want to be on the track. I love it." Got her in the studio with a good friend of mine who produces with Fergie, connected the resources, and next thing you know, not only is she in the film, but she's on the soundtrack. And so all of these things were just God given. They were just extreme blessings to have. And I'm going to be showcasing the soundtrack too on Clubhouse this week on Friday. So I don't know if you have Clubhouse. So, but
Unfortunately, I'm on Android, so I don't think we can get Clubhouse business yet. But
sorry.
where there's a will, there's a way. Now, and worst thing is I finally got an invite to it as well from a friend. But as you said, everything will happen in its own due course and as time needs be. So yeah, because also that being is quite interesting. It's like this is the first time I've ever heard of Tubi, and also it being as it's advertised a free streaming service for TV shows and movies as well, and also it's being in conjunction with Fox. So how did that whole, when you said to yourself, okay, well we know, well obviously time now, it's especially with COVID, streaming's the best way to go forward. What made you think, yeah, you know what, this is the route to go, or is Tubi your production, or are you somehow attached to Tubi?
I was attached to Shoreline Entertainment at first. I felt like I wanted to take my time with it, and Shoreline got on with Samuel Goldwyn Films. And lo and behold, as all of this is happening, Fox acquired Tubi for $500 million and wanted to turn Tubi into a streaming platform for Fox, which ended up happening. So they are much bigger than they were before. So they were making groundbreaking numbers. They saw Lazarus and saw it as an extremely great opportunity to use it as leverage, especially for indie filmmakers, to bring more subscribers to the platform. So they wanted to make it exclusive because they just loved the film. Fox loved the film. Tubi loved it. Samuel Goldwyn Films loved it. And Shoreline loved it. You know, the best thing that someone said that you can do for your film is to find a home for it where it is loved and not just looked at as a one and done. Let me just put it over here, make a couple chains on it, and just leave you on the side of the road. And I was able to position the film and myself to have a relationship where it was going to be taken care of. And here it is. I'm talking to you. They've done an outstanding amount of PR. Tubi has been behind this film incredibly so much. And I thank them for the love that they've been showing to this film and continue to show. And it's not over. You know, but that's how all of that happened, was through Shoreline and Samuel Goldwyn Films and you know, their relationships. And they came. This is one of those things. It's a new thing that's going on, but at the same time is groundbreaking, and it's historical for what they're doing. It's one of those anomalies that they were looking for. So now when you see that moniker on the platform that says Tubi exclusive, there's so much behind that, and there's so many honorable reasons why that's there. And now it's getting a lot of great attention, and people are loving it and continuing to watch it. So, you know, that's how that happened.
Yeah, well, shout out to Tubi and also for Fox for giving, like you said, indie artists that chance. So just to tie it up, are we expecting anything else after? You know, you've got obviously pushing Lazarus at the moment. What else are on the cards for you? Are you going to be mixing to stick to cinema, or are you going to go maybe a bit more back to the kind of TV kind of programming side of things, or a show? What can we expect from Sean Riggs?
I'm going to be doing both. I have a TV show too that I'm on right now called Bosch that's coming out sometime in the springtime. You know, I'm never going to not be an actor. That's one of my loves. But, you know, I'm inspired by Issa Rae. I'm inspired by Tyler Perry. I'm inspired by Quentin Tarantino's, you know, Spike Lee's of our time, where, you know, they're multifaceted, where you can see them on screen or you can see them off screen. You know, I don't mind producing a film that I'm not in as an actor. You know, I just love filmmaking in its entirety, because not only am I a filmmaker, I am an audience member. I am a fan of films. So I have ideas in my head and I want to see them played out on the screen, and not just culturally impactful, worldly impactful, things that the world can see. You know, there are so many different stories out there. I'll tell my cultural stories, but I also want to tell stories that I would love to go to the movies to see myself. So someone asked me the other day and they said, "What is your end game?" I said, "There is no end game. That's the end game. No end. I want to continue to go on. You know, I want to leave a legacy and impact and imprint for my son and, you know, my generations to come. You know, this is something that, you know, I was born into, and I feel like God gave me a gift to tell my story and to tell a story and to tell people's stories. So that's what I want to continue to do. And I have a slate of films that I'm working with right now with some incredible brothers and sisters that we're going to be bringing. And, you know, I'm looking forward to all the relationships now that I have right now, especially through Lazarus, and to see what happens with Lazarus. We don't know, but I know that it's not done.
Well, I look forward to everything that you've got. I want to say thank you very much for your time, and also come back to us. Just hit us up whenever you got a new project you want to talk about, you want to promote it. We're here as well. We're all about the community. So for everybody that's tuned into all of this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Also, go check out Stream Lazarus now, streaming on Tubi on the Fox Free Network. Just have a joy. Just enjoy. Make it your thing. Make it your Friday, weekend, or whatever day thing it is. And yeah, thanks very much again, Mr. Sean Riggs, everybody.
I'm going to take a picture too, man. If you can look up with my camera, I'm gonna make sure the camera's not in it, and I'm just gonna. All right.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
All right, cool. That's just cool.
Man.
I got love, man. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, for real. Well, peace, everybody, and thanks again, sir.